Here are a people who have been taken away from their homes. They have been taken away from the temple. They have been taken away from their land, where they believe that that is the right place to worship the one true God. And they have gone to a place that they believe is corrupt, is spoiled, and where, in the words of the psalmist, how can we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? And therefore you would expect that the prophet of the exile would say to them, now on no account whatsoever do I want you to have anything to do with those terrible people where you are. Take yourselves away. Be pure. Whatever you do, don't mix with them. Have nothing to do with the culture in which you're set. Because you are holy, and then after a while, if you're good, I will take you back to the land that you came. Well, what the prophet of the exile does is nothing like that. He says to this group of people who worship the one true God, who are far away from their temple, I have put you here. And it may take you a long, long time to work out how my plan works out in a time of exile. But settle down. Have children. Pray for the peace, the shalom of the places where you live, because in its prosperity is your prosperity. And then after 70 years, after a long time, after the time of a whole life, then I will restore you to the place that you belong. Because, and then we come to the text this morning. That was just one sermon. I move to the proper sermon now. Because I know the plans I have for you. Plans for goodness, to give you a hope and a future. And so my text this morning is very simple. I guess it's 8 words. I know the plans I have for you. The first thing I want you to notice, and I haven't quite made my mind up whether this sermon has 3 points or 4 points yet. So the first thing I want you to notice is the first 2 words. I know. Now, who is the I? It is God speaking, so effectively it is God saying, God, I, me, God, knows. And I want to suggest to you this morning that in order to be a faithful Christian disciple, it is more important that God knows the plans than that you or I know the plans. It's more important that God knows the plans than that I know the plans. When I was the principal of Cliff College, I spent a lot of time with students who were trying to discern the will of God, because people came to the Cliff College in the same way that they came to theological colleges here in Malaysia, to try and discern, to try and understand what God's call was for their lives. I parody a little bit, but I can think of lots of times when students came to knock on my door of my study, and they came in and they said, "Can I talk to you?" And I say, sure, come in, sit down. And they sat down and they said something like this: I wish I knew what God was calling me to. I'd love God to tell me if I'm going to get married, if I'm going to have children. Especially if it's while I'm here at college, because if God tells me I can get married, I can look round at all the nice men or women that might be good partners for me. We used to call Cliff College Christian Marriage Bureau. They'd say, I wonder whether or not I'm going to be called abroad as a missionary. Will I be rich? Will I have enough money to live with? Will I become a famous preacher? Will I become a pastor of a big church? I wonder whether I'll die young or very old. And then they'd pause, and this is a joke. They'd say, you see, I just want to live by faith. But they want to know all these things. And I reminded them when they said that as disciples of Jesus Christ, they were to walk by faith, not by sight. Now, that doesn't mean blindly, but it does mean that you walk faithfully. Sometimes God reveals things and we discern things one step at a time. And in the scriptures, you get people who say a little bit like these students, I want to know, am I going to be rich? Who will I marry? How many children will I have? And God says, just chill out. I know. And if you are my follower, that's good enough. Now, you spend each day, as it comes, following me and being faithful to my way. And that's what I used to tell students at Cliff College. Even churches can sometimes want to know too much of the plan. Or, perhaps even worse, pretend that they know the whole plan of God. It's possible, you see, for individuals and for churches to believe that they know the whole plan of God for them so surely that what they do in spiritual terms is something like this.